update some things, and we did our run, hike, fight training a year and a half ago. Not a whole lot of new staff since then, but we have had turnover in offices and positions, and as we were filling out our annual mandatory who's in charge of what, we realized that we haven't always communicated beyond the faculty team. And so since we're all on campus with these 470 saints in the making, I think that we realized we needed to come together and hear the same message. Justine and Wendy took it on. They're working with Eileen DeMeo and Rachel Tejas and Joey Gonzalez and a couple others. Did I miss anyone? Taking it over from Cheryl and the team. But this isn't like just a new thing. This is a reminder. So again, faculty go over a lot of this in the classrooms, but faculty are not the only one in the classrooms or around the children. So we wanted to come together and have a one voice time. There will be questions, and Justine's going to address how we're going to do that, because if we all get our questions asked, we would be here probably till tonight. So we're going to put some of that off, because safety isn't a one-time shot. It's an ongoing shot. Okay, it's going over and over. And just like we expect the children to practice things as they're learning things, we have to do the same thing. We have to keep in mind, what are we practicing in our brain? What are we practicing in our responses, so that we are prepared for anything that can happen. But we do take all of this seriously. We think it's really important. Aftercare and a few others are going to get trained separate, because they're in a whole different scenario. And then everybody here too will have to take everything we talk about today and take it back to how's it going to work in their situation. And I think that's really important. So I thank you for the time here. If you were an hourly employee, I forgot to say this in any of the emails, you are clocked in, I hope, or you will clock in, or you will let us know that you're clocked in, because this was required. So thank you for being here in Bo and giving up of your time. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to try to go through this quickly. We have some Post-its. Did anyone happen to grab any Post-its on your way? Okay, we're going to pass out some Post-its. This is how you're going to remember your questions, if you have one, and then we'll collect them at the end. If they pertain to the whole group and we have a couple minutes, then we can go through it. But if not, we will just look at all your questions and go on a Google Doc and report all the answers to everybody. Does that sound okay? Okay, so please feel free to write these down, and maybe we'll answer your questions as we go through. So thank you, Eileen, who printed all of these yesterday. We've been going through so many revisions of these. We kept trying to get people to find, you might find some issues still with them, but we tried really hard to not let that happen. So as you know, the most important thing is that we are all on the same page. So thank you for coming together today. We're going to talk about strategies, resources, and training. So preparation for today is the most important thing, so that we can be prepared in the event of an incident on our campus. And we kind of rearranged the flip chart in the order of things that I thought might actually happen versus the least likely to happen at the bottom. We have an extensive emergency response plan that actually Linda alluded to. It is called the ERP. It is in the front office, and you can review it. It is diocesan required. So we just completed all that paperwork. So what we're mainly focusing on today is the flip charts that you have in your hand, and rosters have been updated. Okay, and everyone, so what we brought to you today was the orange part, and we want you to connect that to your all clear red or your red and all clear green papers, okay, and then you'll have your rosters attached. If you don't have those attached now, just attach them when you get to your classroom, okay? I think we still have some people who might need flip charts. Who needs a flip chart? Okay, I don't know if we're kind of sharing with some people, but we do have some available. I think the parish, we really need to get some over time. This is just an easy access to what you do in an emergency, okay?
And we'll get more maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Up here, this is a little, it's not, oh gosh. Sorry. I'm talking about this and it's not going. I apologize. I was going through it on my notes and it wasn't connected. Okay, so the ERP we talked about. The gym and Smith Hall all have rosters for the entire school, and we talked about also getting that in the youth house as well. Any place that is a common place, so like the art room, we should make sure we have the whole school listed. The library, yes, thank you. All of those places should have the whole school, just because we never know when an event will happen, okay?
Those kind of follow-up things that you need to check.
In the gym, they are in the offices. Yes. We probably need to make a list of exactly where they are. Like in the cafeteria, they're on the cleaning cart, right? And we should make a note about where they are all listed in the uniform spaces. But Michaela and Adam each have them with their go bags in their offices, okay? And they each have they both have flip charts and rosters. Yes. Yes. The gym is keyed all the same. Okay. We had a visit from Officer Tellez. He is our community action officer at the Cactus Precinct, and he was very happy with the safety of our school. I think that's really important to note. We do a really good job. Our fencing is uniform. We have a security officer on site, so we are doing all the right things, okay? And the most important thing is you. You guys are out here seeing things. You see a gate ajar, please close it. If you see something broken, please report it, because that's how we're gonna get these things fixed so that we can prevent anything from happening. I want to point out one thing that you're going to see in the flip chart, and it is the acronym SERT. S-E-R-T. This is from the diocese. It's School Emergency Response Team. So we're going to include that as just the office admin and Eileen and Rachel, because they have been doing this forever. They are guiding us in all the things that we're supposed to do. So we will be pulling the fire alarms, talking on the PA, and doing all those things for you in the event of an emergency. And one side note is just to remember that Eileen or Rachel are going to be communicating with police, and they are going to be giving us instructions to give to you. So at some point, we are no longer in charge, and the police tell us exactly what to do, and that is what we will be communicating with you via PA, walkie-talkie, and those are the top two, and or email. We're going to go through the flip charts. So everyone has an orange flip chart or a neighbor that has a flip chart. And I really like this. This is how Cheryl had originally organized it. The diocese does not arrange it like this, but I just feel like it's so easy. It's easy to view and easy to see, so we kept it the exact same. So if you'll flip over the first one, we listed important emergency people. So emergency, our community action officer, Officer Tellez, the office, police crime stop, non-emergency, the clinic, the parish office. So here are all these numbers listed for you. Our school address is also listed. In the event of an emergency, most likely Eileen will be making these calls or someone in the front office, but it is just valuable information for everybody to have. The emergency bagger checklist. The classroom teachers go through this every year, so we've already done this in the beginning of the school year, but parish, just so you know, every classroom has bags. So we have go bags, which include things like rosters, snacks, if we're stuck in our room, buckets, water, all sorts of things in the event of an emergency. And they're brought out during fire drills or anything like that. Okay, on the next page, you're going to see an accident or a medical emergency. This is probably the most likely thing that we're going to see on campus. Someone's going to fall off the playground, they're going to be injured, someone's going to have some sort of issue in the cafeteria. So this is our most likely scenario. In the event that something is happening with a medical incident, you're going to report it on the walkie-talkie. Please make sure that you are not diagnosing a student when you are saying things on the walkie-talkie. You can't say, oh, this child fell over and he's unconscious, or something like seizing or something. You can't say things that you see. His eyes are closed, he's non-responsive. Please call 911, I need someone here right away. And as you were looking at this is how the diocese organizes it, which I just kind of kept it the same. It says administrator responsibilities and teacher staff responsibilities. So on the left are mostly things that the school emergency response team is going to do. In this case, we're going to have the nurse go out. She's going to go check. She's going to check on the student, see how the student is doing, call 911 if necessary. Looking at the teacher staff responsibilities, especially if there's an injury, evaluate the scene and isolate the area. You're going to make sure no one's crowding around the student, make sure we're giving the student some space and some privacy. And so that's what you're doing with all the students who are there. Notify the office nurse admin, which should be on your walkie-talkie, to get out there. And I do have call 911 just in case the nurse hasn't gotten there fast. I had an incident back in the day where I had a student get hit in the head all the way at the furthest field, and it was just swelling so quickly, the nurse wasn't getting there fast enough, so I called the nurse, but then I called 911 while she was on her way out. So you'll have some sort of communication with the nurse on what to do. We had an incident earlier this year where Christy was, pre-K was great, they were all prepared and they had their student information to hand right to the firefighters. It was great. So they're very organized. Christy knows exactly what she's doing and we have all that information. Moving on to the next one, fire and building evacuation. So I want to note up here on the top, I went ahead and put something for reporting attendance on every single one because I was trying to think if I was a substitute walking in a classroom and I wasn't sure what to do, would I have the information I needed? So it's going to feel a little bit redundant, but when we are communicating students' attendance and if they're here, I tried to put it on every single one so that it would be easy access if you're flustered or not sure what to do. So when you're reporting attendance, please make sure that you are sending an email to, oh, this is the fire evacuation, sorry. For fire, we're gonna evacuate offsite and you're gonna report to your fire captains. So fire captains, raise your hand. Fire captains are gonna bring walkie-talkies and orange vests. And Parrish, I think you guys usually come out to this area, is that right? Yes, okay. You're going to tell your fire captain, and they're going to report. Eileen will take all the roll, and then we will make sure we have every student. In the event that we have to stay outside, you will be told where to go. As a side note, does everyone know where your fire extinguisher is in your classroom? How many of you think are in this room? Close your eyes. How many of you think are in this room? How many people think there's one? How many people think there's two? How many people think there are three? How many people think there are more than three? You are the winners. There are 4 in this room. 2 in the front, 2 in the back.
I feel like we should do like this.
Okay? So, there's 6. Where are they in the kitchen? They're in the far back. Ooh, Eli's always right, because there's more in the back. Thank you, Eli. There are 4 that you can see. It's really important to know where your fire extinguishers are because they can be used in the event of a fire or in the event of an intruder. No one's going to want to get sprayed in the face with a fire extinguisher. I actually, in 4th grade, our projector, the old school projector, started on fire in my classroom. Mrs. Cesario, she put it out. She got the fire extinguisher and she put it out. So obviously on this, it says we evacuate, we do all the things. But if it's a little fire and you can get your fire extinguisher and extinguish it, that would be amazing, okay? So pull the pin. I tried to get one to bring it because that would have been awesome. But Mark couldn't find one for me. So you're gonna get it off the wall, pull the pin. You have to break a little zip tie, but it's like a beaded one. And aim at the base of the fire in a sweeping motion. Okay? Awesome. I'll try if I can find one. That would be fun. Oh, you have an acronym, Cheryl. Tell us.
Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep.
There we go. Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. There will be a test later. I like that. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, so if you can, please put out a little small fire. She did get us out of the classroom first, but she had no idea where we were. She just sent us out. Okay. Moving on, off-site relocation.
Can I just say one thing about the fire?
Yes.
I know people are very well-meaning, trying to tell people who's there. Our fire captains know what's supposed to be reported, so we want them doing the reporting, okay? So don't jump on the walkie yourself. Eileen is literally, in any emergency, the front office has to account for everybody on campus, and they have a procedure that they're doing to do that. So please wait till everybody is called that you have to add anything. They're very aware that if an absent child might come in later, there's a reporting structure to that, okay?
So the teachers will tell their fire captains, and then the fire captains report to Eileen. That's how it goes, okay? And we kept these green and red cards on here because we were told some people do use these during the fire. So this would mean my class is all here, we're good, okay? Or red would mean someone is missing. This is just an easy visual cue, which is why we kept this on here, although we do not use this anymore for anything else. This is only for So now we're getting to the point where you're in the classroom and you're reporting your children, you and any adult that is in your room. So anyone who is outside campus has to get into a room. So we've frequently pulled in maintenance or whoever we see. You come into the closest building. You're going to email all school employees at simonjude.org. And this is so we are all on the same page. You want to put who is in your building or classroom in the subject line. And this is because when Eileen is going through all of these emails, she's literally, hopefully she doesn't have to open them up. If it just says roommate present with Miss Tanner and Mrs. Sharon, okay, that's easy. She can just move on as she goes. So the goal is to report it in the subject line.
You talked that it was offsite evacuate, that's for lock-in, right?
This is offsite location.
Oh, okay, so this is for all offsite.
Oh, you're not in your rooms. But we do still have to report it
Yeah. It's just for kids. When you get to a safe spot.
when you get to a safe spot. This kind of goes with the lock-in and the lockdown. But it could also go, the reason it's after fire is in case we have to move. So this is offsite. And our offsite location is Gompers. Thank you for saying that. And it has Gompers' address listed right there. If we are told to go somewhere different, the police or fire will let us know. We tried to get it to another site, but they're awaiting approval for the superintendent, so we're just saying Gompers for right now. Okay? So, sorry, thank you. If we're going to an offsite relocation, we still have to keep track of our students and report it when you're safe. Okay. We're going to move to reverse evacuation, which we actually did 2 weeks ago, I think it was. So this was the one where we came in from recess into wherever you were. Or if you were inside already in a classroom during a reverse evacuation, please stay in the classroom with your students and just report as usual, okay? This is where we're just trying to get everyone into the, into campus and behind a locked door. When you are reporting for a reverse evacuation, wherever you are, if you're in the cafeteria, make sure we're trying to do all school employees at simonjude.org is our first, that's our first reporting, and walkie-talkie channel 2 will be secondary. We've had some issues where like the email doesn't go through or we sent it to the wrong email, so usually if there's more than one adult, they can say, oh, that went through or that didn't, and try to recorrect it, okay? For the walkie-talkie, we were having some mumbling going on as it was being reported. So these are, the good news is these are all things that we can fix, and this is exactly why we practice so that we can do a better job the next time. When you are in a reverse evacuation, you can continue what you're doing. Usually you're in a giant space with a lot of children, so you're not probably going to keep teaching, but if you're in your classroom, you can go ahead and keep teaching, okay? And wait for more information on the walkie-talkie or the PA, okay? Next one is the lock-in. Again, we're reporting attendance via email. You can check for updates on the email, PA announcement, walkie-talkie. The original announcement will usually go out on the PA. And you are going to report attendance just like you do for the regular email. Walkie-talkie is secondary. And I know Eileen usually call the parish office, don't you call them? Okay. For the lock-in, you are inside a locked room, but you are continuing to teach, okay? We have responsibilities in the classroom for certain things like sweeping bathrooms or hallways. I want to make sure that we are doing a good job communicating that to substitutes. So if you do have a job like that, I would love for you to write it on your flip chart so your sub knows, okay? So if your job is sweeping a specific bathroom, please list it. Bathroom, hallway, all the things. On a lock-in, you're pulling everything down, you're locking the doors, covering the windows, but you may continue teaching. And you can wait for any more instructions via PA, walkie, or email. Next one is emergency lockdown. This is a lock-in can escalate to a lockdown. A lockdown is when we are no longer teaching, we are down below windows where you think it is the safest for your students. Eileen will be communicating, or someone in the office is going to be communicating with the police. If there is somebody, if it's a lockdown, like we had an incident on Maryland, we're going to be told what to do in that situation, and we're going to be communicating it with you. The next one is run, hide, fight, an intruder on campus. Even though this is a low probability event, it's important for us to talk about what we would do in this situation. The thing we didn't talk about after we had our specific training was what then? What do we do once we're gone? How do we reunify? And so we want you guys to know, we're gonna try something, we're gonna try to have everybody download Teams, Microsoft Teams, since we all have it as a community, and we are going to have you download it on your iPad, phone, or computer. We cannot require you to have it on your phone, but if you would like to, you may. Jerry's been testing this and doing a lot of work on it. We were trying to find something that was free, that we didn't have to recreate email addresses or logins or anything like that. So this ties right into your email and is a way for us to communicate in the event of an emergency. So it would originally go out as like it rings your phone or it beeps, it puts an alert on your iPad or computer, and then instructions would come following that. Okay, and then the instruction would come of what to do, where to go. Typically, we would say, again, the reunification spot would be Gompers, unless for some reason you don't feel like it is safe. Like if I ran this way with my students, like I'm pretending like I was in the gym, if I went this way with my students toward the access road and an incident was here, and I wouldn't want to come back this down Maryland, you have to decide a safe route to take your students, okay? And I'll always stay with your students. So the most important thing with the run, fight, hide, and if you weren't in our training last year, we also do the CMG, the CMG video online, and that is what this is relating to. Are we running? Is the intruder far away? Are we running with our students, escaping through windows, anything that you can? Are we preparing to fight, blockading the door, or hiding? Okay, again, fire extinguishers are great in that situation, or anything that you can find. There is more information on the top of it, what exactly you do for each of those things. And then going further down, missing person, bus incident, severe weather. These are, I feel like, not quite as likely, but it's important to have procedures. These are just the procedures from directly from the diocese. And if you ever need to see them, they are there. So that is that, and then I think, Wendy, you're gonna move to appropriate communication during an emergency.
So I don't know if any of you, well, first of all, I want to give a huge shout. Justine has been working on this for a solid month. Like, this is blood, sweat, and tears. She did this, and then Eileen printed and cut all of these for us. So big shout out to the two of them for this laborious item. A lot of thought and a lot of time, and thank you to Cheryl, and then Joey Gonzalez also. They went through all of our things to make sure that we were dotting our I's and crossing our T's. Okay, so in terms of communication, I don't know if you all know this, but the Diocese of Phoenix has an actual communications office. And from that office, that is what drives the communication that goes out into the public. So if there's ever anything that happens, at one of our Catholic schools, it is through the diocese that we communicate with others. We have strict rules against us ourselves communicating directly, especially with media. So if something were to happen on site and God forbid media showed up and is shoving microphones in your face and cameras in your face, we are not to speak at all to anyone. We just say, I'm not at liberty to speak. If you would like to speak to someone, you may contact the Diocese of Phoenix. You don't have to say anything to anyone. And we have a pastor-principal model at St. Simon and Jude, well, the whole diocese. So if there is anything that is ever shared beyond from the diocese, it would come from either our pastor or from our principal. So you are under no obligation to say anything. In fact, if you see someone, you run. Yeah. So the other thing we want to talk about is in terms of communication, not just the big communication like that, where a camera's in your face. It's also the communication that happens when we are actually in like a lock-in or a lockdown situation, where we are a community here. Many of us are either currently parents or have been parents, and so our friends are here. Our children's friends are here. So it's very, we have to be very mindful of that. And it's not our job to be communicating with our friends outside of our walls, letting them know what's going on, even though it's very tempting, and we want people to know everything's okay, or this is what's happening. We have very specific ways of communicating information. So our request is that you do not, as tempting as it is, don't send out that text message, don't call, don't do those things. Let us get that information out in real time to everyone. Because what generally happens when communication is given, we try, it's an approach where everyone's getting the same message at the same time. So if we have 20 different people sending out 20 different messages, you can imagine the issues that we have. So we know it's hard, but we ask, or if someone, like, let's say a notification goes out that we are in a lockdown situation, and then people start texting you, do not respond, okay? That is not your responsibility. We will be in the office, Eileen, Rachel, Linda, Justine, and I, we will be updating parents regularly with information, okay? Your job is to keep the children safe and not worry about your buzzing phone from parents who are understandably freaking out. It also helps to it keeps your phones available to us too, so if we need to get in contact with you. So we put up here about FERPA confidentiality. I know many of you are familiar with, that is our limits of confidentiality in the educational world. So we really aren't at liberty to give anything to anyone at any time other than attendance. That's really the only, if a parent contacts us for records and all these things, really the only thing we're able to give them without written consent is, yes, Timmy has been absent 5 times. We can't give anything beyond that. But we just really, let's see, this includes medical as well, please allow communication. Yes, and the same with, I want to touch from the nurse too. Okay, I do playground duty, many of you do playground duty, kids fall all the time. They get hurt. We need to let Christy do her job. Yes, it would be very easy. Like one day I was doing playground duty with Lindsay, and her daughter fell, well, actually broke her arm. And if Lindsay wouldn't have been out there, it would have been very tempting for me to shoot Lindsay a text, hey, Lydia fell just now in the playground. I think she's complaining about her arm hurting. I'm sending her to Christy. I think you should get over there, it might be broken. That sounds very reasonable for me to do that, but I'm not a doctor, so I should not be diagnosing, and 2, that's not my job. My job is to get her to Christy and let Christy do the communication. So as tempting, again, as that is, we need to stay in our lane and let the people who are supposed to do it, because again, information gets muddled. Was there more that we wanted to touch on with that? Yes?
Just real life situations on this. We sent out testing on a phone a few weeks ago, and within...
We were so excited.
The phone lines lit up and stayed calling in for a good 20 minutes or so. Parents responded without looking at their email, without looking at their voicemail, and start calling in. So when we start sending information out there, what happens is our phone lines get tied up. We also, from all emergencies, have been told over and over again, we do not want parents coming to this site if we're in a real emergency. It's not safe, okay?
It's just gonna create more chaos.
And then the last part of all this, which I just decided, and I know a couple things, is I also want you to know that Wendy is the head of our crisis team for the diocese. She is part of that team that is in charge of getting emergency information and caring for emergency information. So she's been well trained in this. So we're taking a lot of the directives from the
That's
experts.
pretty scary.
The last part of all that is it's very, very hard to know those boundaries. I understand that we care deeply for one another, but we have to remember that the people that are communicating and making decisions are doing it with knowledge that some of us may not have. When I was in the classroom, I didn't know what was going on between the office and emergency services, so it wasn't for me to make a decision. The exception is run, hide, fight. If there's an intruder on campus, all bets are off. Everybody does what they can do to the best of their ability with the knowledge they have. And that's what we learned about for those that weren't here last year, as scary as that is the one exception. There's very little communication often coming from central office or office, so you have to make decisions in those moments, okay?
Thank you. what we talked about before. In terms of crisis, we don't plan for crisis. Crisis just happens, and this week has been a great example of that. We've had a lot of balls thrown at our faces this week, literally. They just happen, so we have to be prepared, and I always like to remind people that in a crisis situation, especially our children, they are going to react however we are reacting. So if we're frenzied and we're acting crazy and talking a million miles an hour and running around the classroom, they're going to be behaving the same way. And while it is very difficult to remain calm, it is the only way to keep calm for our students is if we're calm. Even if on the inside we're melting. Just the most that we can do to remain calm is the best we can do for our students. And we talked about this too. You guys are the eyes and the ears of this place. You are the front line, you are our first. So if you see something, say something. Gates unlocked, if you keep seeing the same gates open, the same people opening the gates and not closing them, we need to know. Tell us. If you notice a door's not locking, if you notice the sidewalk, like I keep tripping on the lip of this concrete, we need to know this so that we can get these things fixed. And the playground equipment too. Please, if you're just standing on the playground with your kids, just do a quick walkthrough every, few days just to make sure there's no, holes that are sticking out where they shouldn't be sticking out. We just need to be mindful of those things because playground injuries are probably, Christy could speak most to this. Christy, would you say it's the playground injuries that seem to keep you
Busy?
the busiest? That 10:50 to 12:20 time of her day, stay out of the nurse's office because it's just constant. Yes, Ray.
Who's our main person?
Main person to contact? Yeah, who would that be? If there's like a
There's some problem with
We
equipment.
continue the front office.
front office, yeah. I say Justine.
Rachel, Eileen, and.
No, Rachel and Eileen are the ones who tend to communicate directly, like with maintenance and things like that. So, and because we don't all need to be emailing, so we're not supposed to be emailing Eli or the parish or anything like that. We have, again, channels. Come to the office, report it, and then we'll get those reports made. Please always have your walkies. We are going to be looking at ordering more walkie-talkies because we recognize that not all of them work and that we need more. They're just very expensive, but we're working on getting more walkies so that everyone should have access to a working walkie. But please always carry that in your rosters. I know some of you have pictures of them on your phone. I know like Sally's got her rosters on her keychain. I know you guys have a variety of ways of keeping your rosters, but keeping your rosters and your walkies with you are the first and most important thing you can do in any sort of crisis situation. And again, be calm. Be calm. That's easier said than done. What am I missing on that? Did you have more notes?
And then the last thing I was going to say is Keith asked me once, my husband asked me, because there was a lockdown last year, and he said, well, what do you do in a lockdown? Didn't you just go check on our kids? And I was like, no, that's actually not how it works at all. So I know we have a lot of parents in this room, and I think it's just really important to know that you are really important to the success of our emergency preparedness, and everyone has to do their job. And I know that's hard. Your kid's in the other class, and you're seeing, oh gosh, Cole's gone. He's not in any classrooms. But our job is to take care of the students that are in our room, report our attendance, and as a team, we are all going to be really successful in this. But just as a reminder, everyone has to stay to their job, and that's how we are going to be successful. Okay, so I think we're ready for questions. I'm sorry, I went through that flip chart pretty quick, and I know that was a lot of information, but I feel like it's a resource here for you if you ever have any questions. Does anyone have any whole group questions that we should be answering or that we did not clarify? Don't be shy. This is a new email. It doesn't reply?
No.
But if you reply to the person, it might still go to everybody, but should we start a new recycle? I don't know.
I think it's the same as teachers, but it's all school employees. And so it will go to parish and school so that we are all on the same page. Because it's hard with the disconnect between the buildings.
I'm just saying, do you want, do you not want to reply?
No.
Do you
No, you start a new one.
Start a new one. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, so that when it comes into IT, it shows Kathy Stalter, Karen Williams.
Because
Yes.
it'll get lost in a thread.
It will get lost in a thread, yes. Go ahead and start a new email. Thank you.
And all school employees is not all parish staff, they're two different emails. All school employees and all parish are two different emails. So, isn't it? Jerry, I'll have this.
All school employees, oh, this is so we make sure that aides were on it, because aides a lot of time we were
All
on.
school employees in case you're stuck.
So it's only going to the school, it's not going to the
Now,
parish.
parish has another email. different
Okay.
one.
And Eileen does the communication, sorry, with you guys.
So all school employees.
All school employees.
We're finding that our aides are in some of our classrooms alone, and they're not seeing the teacher one. So,
Thank you. Yes,
You guys saw something on the newsletter today about phones getting worked on?
yes.
Is that classroom?
no, they're just our current. Yeah, our main ones in the office.
Changing like the phone system.
Yeah, great for us.
Yes,
So you had said like if we have to evacuate the windows.
yes.
There's locks on gates to get out, like if I go out and I kindergarten windows, I'm stuck in that space, because there's nowhere to go and I don't have keys to those locks. There is a.
Well, there's a push, so there is a push gate right here next to the youth house.
No, I know, but I go out my window and it's that back open space, there's like locks on one of the gates and they open.
I wanna keep it to all set.
Faculty, we're gonna do, I would suggest everybody from your main areas of working, you do some walkthroughs on your own. Faculty, and anyone wants to join us in a couple weeks and later in November, we're gonna do a field trip to Gompers on our staff meeting. So, and then we'll be able to teach people that work with our classrooms, just to, so that everyone sees where reunification is. And reunification, God forbid we ever should need this, I hope not, but reunification also means it's not just when you go that direction, it means if you go down there and you end up at Hammer Traditional, then if Hammer Traditional can put you on a bus and get you to Gompers, we do that. But in a true intruder training, everybody's in lockdown. So we can't get to an Ocotillo or a Synergy or an Hammer Traditional because they're in a lockdown, they're not gonna receive us. So if you go where you can, and when you can get to reunification. Reunification is where the diocese shows up for communications, and where they bring our emergency personnel into, and where we have parent pickup. And it's all communicated later as it happens, but that's what we call, so we have one thing identified. And just so, also so everyone knows, I think Dr. knows, we have an agreement with Gompers. We've walked the site, we know what it's gonna look like. We've done all that. Faculty are gonna go ahead and do that walk, but everybody, wherever you are, and that means if you're working all over campus, have an idea. Remember we did this in Run, Hide, Fight. Have an idea wherever you are, where's your nearest exits, safe exits for whatever scenario may hit you. That's just that practicing part that we have to do regularly. We're gonna practice the generic things, but everybody should be practicing what's particular to them, okay, for any kind of thing. So I didn't know that was a push gate. No, those are the things we should be learning. I literally, they came in, and that's what, she did this on purpose, this, fire extinguisher thing. I worked in the same classroom for 8 years, and 2 years ago, when insurance came in to ask me where they were checking where our fire thing was, I said, I don't have one. They said, yeah, you do, it's right there. I've been in the classroom for 8 years. That's not observant. Go through everything we just talked about and say, do I know where this is? Do I know where that is? Do I know where this is? That's part of our job, okay? Yes, I failed at that part. Okay, so that's just the kind of thing. We do want to take it, we want to address the individual questions, which is what we want the Post-its notes, so that we can address those later that are specific to certain departments. Just like I said, aftercare has to have their own. Parish may have to get together and do their own thought from here. But so many of our parish employees are in our classrooms at a given time, right? So they have to be prepared for whatever that we need to do with these 500 darlings, right? Okay? There we go.
I
Yes.
just wanna say thank you for the new gate by the gym, it is working magnificently, and it's always closed.
Yay, Eli! Thank you. And they can't shove it so hard they break it. That was great problem solving. Any other questions? If yes, Angie.
This one would be, my question would
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. So if you're ever on duty, you take the classroom walkie.
But we can't have an extra walkie.
We're working on
Oh,
it.
that's-
Yeah.
They run at $200 to $300
Yeah.
a piece, and the last time we bought them, they didn't work. So
Wow.
we have to, they're not, and you have to buy ones that are the right type that work with the existing group. So there's a lot of pieces to this. That was another one that came out of last year's training, that and the communication, if you're down on your, so the reason for this team is just so you know, isn't to give you one more thing to do. It's not to give you one more thing to do, and Justine and Jerry are gonna send out teams information as we work with it. Jerry's gone out and talked to other schools, he's been researching. In my notes, when we left Run, Hide, Fight training the last year, there were two things that happened. Communications on walkies was one of the questions, and the second one was, how are you gonna communicate with each other if all the other parts are down? And they said they suggested an app. So we've been looking into that, it just didn't happen in the last year with the changes. So that's like now our next priority. So we're gonna get something out. If Teams doesn't work, we're gonna find something else. But those are the two areas that we are very aware of. So thank you for bringing that up. That we need more walkies and we need to get a communication piece. Remember, there are many lines of communication. We do what we can in a true emergency. Phones, walkies, overhead, and computers. Okay? We do whatever we can to find out where everyone is and where they are if they're safe. Okay?
And we're gonna send out a thing after this. Jerry went ahead and made a step-by-step process to get Teams downloaded to your iPad, computer, or phone. And then you're gonna do it, you're gonna tell him you did it, and then next week we're gonna practice. We're gonna do a practice communication to make sure everyone is on it. So we won't do that a lot, but we do need to practice to make sure it's working. Any other questions? Yes, Jerry? You're gonna have to be loud.
For the group chat, you'll only be added after you email me. So that way we can keep track of who's actually downloaded it. You can download it on your phones, your iPad, or your computer. But I will only add you after you've emailed me.
We're doing that on purpose to try to make sure everyone is accounted for. And Jerry, maybe just do a roster, make sure you have everyone on that, okay? Any other, how about if you have any other questions or if you have a post-it, leave it up at the front and we will send a Google Doc out to everybody. Please replace your new flip charts with all your emergency gear before you leave today so that everyone knows where it is. And if you were just looking at one and you don't actually need it for your space, you can bring it up to the front.
If you need one, if you can let us know, and teachers, those should be connected to your subfolders, or there should be directions in your subfolders where they're out the door. Teachers, remember, your subfolders have to give directions to anyone who's in your room, okay?
All right, thank you. Have a great weekend.